President Trump fighting back after House Democrats launch an expansive new investigation. House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler requesting documents from 81 people and organizations associated with the president. Nadler defending the move.
We're simply exercising our oversight jurisdiction. You've had 2 years of sustained attacks by an administration of the nature that we haven't seen probably in a century or more, against the free press, against the courts, against the law enforcement administrations, against freedom of speech. We have to make sure that this is not a dictatorship and that the rule of law is respected. President Trump blasting the new probe.
The witch hunt continues. The fact is that I guess we got 81 letters. There was no collusion. That was a hoax. There was no anything. And they want to do that instead of getting legislation passed. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to our country. I'm not surprised that it's happening. Basically, they've started the campaign. So the campaign begins. But they just haven't gotten used to the fact that we won a lot of states that haven't been won by Republicans in a long time. So instead of doing infrastructure, instead of doing health care, instead of doing so many things that they should be doing, they want to play games.
Infrastructure Week is going to be awesome, Jesse, when they get around to it. So calls for impeachment are hard to control when the base wants what it wants. And it's just, they're going to keep asking for it. And these chairmen, even if they want to tap the brakes, they're being pushed into it.
Yeah, it's a runaway train, and the media is fueling the fire as well. These numbers from the president that just came out are pretty spectacular. In the NBC polls, approval ratings at 46%. Rasmussen, he's at 48. Harvard and Harris have him at 45. Blacks, he's in the mid-20s. And then the base, the Republicans have him at 93. Sorry, haters. So, despite all of the stuff they've thrown at this guy, you know, the spies, the lies, the probes, the 25th Amendment, all this stuff, his numbers are at or near record high. So, the buzz from the Mueller report is there's not going to be all this collusion that they're going to report. So the Democrats are getting nervous, and they're scrambling for new crimes. And it doesn't look like they've found any in the House report, in the Senate report, in the counter intel probe. And the sentencing memos from Mueller indicate that they don't really have anything there. So the bottom line is this. There is nothing that the middle class can look and see what the Democrats are doing and say, this affects my life. This is what I want. I want to see Trump's taxes. I want these investigations. I want Don Jr. up on the Hill. It doesn't deliver, and the polling's never shown it's deliver. If I were the president, I would cooperate, but I would call privilege on a lot of this stuff the same way Barack Obama did.
Yep. And also, just speaking of that, Jedediah Politico reporting that the Democrats do plan to demand President Trump's tax returns in about 2 weeks, which I guess that gets us closer to tax day. Yeah. Maybe that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised only 81 entities. They're getting lazy. I mean, I was hoping for at least 100, 150. It's basically, it's ridiculous. This is so desperate now that even people who originally were on board saying, look, if there was collusion with Russia, let's investigate it. Let's figure it out. All the rational people have left the room. And now everyone that's left is looking at this and saying, okay, these are people who are dissatisfied with the election results. They don't have an agenda of their own that's appealing to people. What are you going to go out to most of the country and talk the way AOC does? Socialism, a Green New Deal. None of this stuff makes practical sense to the average person. The average person in the United States is not a socialist. They see that. It sounds extreme. Democrats need to learn, though, you're not going to win an election by going after the other guy and being constantly negative about him. You have to bring something positive to the table yourself. So they either need to be proud of this very, very extreme agenda that includes late-term abortion. Let them talk about infanticide and getting rid of all the electric cars in 10 years. Either be proud of that, put that front and center, and make that and do what you got to do and create some optimism there, or leave the room, because you are giving Trump a victory right now by doing this, and the poll numbers show that.
Juan, can the Democrats do that, like continue to go after President Trump, but also maybe meet him on infrastructure bill or something like that? Like, is there a way for them to actually do both? With a base that really wants them to just fight?
No, I think the base wants them to legislate as well as investigate, so I don't think there's any problem there. I think they can do two things at one time. I must say I have a very different view when I look at the poll numbers. 45, 46%, that's his high, Jesse. It's not high for most presidents.
I understand, but that's still his high.
But his high is good, right? I mean, like, that's for that.
It's the same way Obama's was in the exact same time.
Yeah, that's true. But remember, Obama was at a low point. This guy's at his high point. But here's the thing. If you look at those numbers, 64% of Americans right now think that the president should release his tax returns. That's 2/3 of the American people. How about this? Half of the respondents, this Quinnipiac poll that came out today, think that they believe, guess this is so unbelievable to me, they believe Cohen more than they believe Trump. 64% think that Trump committed crimes before he was president of the United States. So Republicans have a strong affinity for the Constitution as it was written. And the Constitution is very clear. Congress is an equal branch of government with oversight responsibilities, and they need to gather facts in the course of exercising oversight before they come to any kind of decision about impeachment and the like. But Republicans are acting like, oh, it's impeachment right now.
But you can honestly
let me get Greg in, please. So
I'm sorry, what?
We have talked about how Democrats, maybe it would be helpful for President Trump to have someone to fight against, right? So now he has somebody to push back against, and now the Democrats are kind of providing him that, which I think makes him look more like a statesman.
Well, imagine that you're like a surgeon or an air traffic controller, right? Doing your job, and outside the window is like a birthday clown juggling chainsaws. That's the Democrats. Their role right now simply is to distract a man from doing his job. The problem is he's America's air traffic controller. He's America's surgeon. So a lot of people kind of don't like this distraction. Let's say you have a normal job. I was thinking about this today. Let's say you have a normal job. You're an electrician or an insurance agent, and all of a sudden your boss comes in and says, hey, you know what? I'd like you to devote more time into investigating that electrician across the street, or devote more time to investigating that insurance agent across the street.
And digging up dirt on that.
As if you have time, right? You have time to do this. So what I'm learning is these politicians have a lot of time to do this sort of thing in the sense they are creating an argument for their own uselessness, that they're able to do unending investigations. At best, being a congressman is a part-time job. It's a seasonal occupation like being a department store Santa or an NFL ref. And what we have done by allowing them to have a full-time job is we're allowing them to investigate instead of legislate. If I've learned anything, and it's left or right or center, this should not be a full-time job. And I think that you have to be better than the people who upset you. 8 years ago, there were people like this about Obama, right? We know there are people that were convinced Obama was going to be a dictator, right? He was going to seize power. You're just doing what they're doing. You are now a mirror of the people you despise. You should step out of this and look down and see that you're no better than they are.
Democrats do, Jesse, I'll give you the last word. The Democrats do say that Republicans went way overboard investigating Obama, and they could point to all sorts of hearings and document requests and trying to gum up the works and being the clown outside the airplane.
How long was Benghazi?
I thought those were
years?
Legitimate investigations where Americans died. The Americans died in Fast and Furious. What's so funny, Juan?
Well, because
you think it's funny that Americans are dead in Benghazi? You think it's funny that they died in Fast and Furious?
I'm saying.
You think it's funny that they died in the VA?
I think it's funny that
those
you
are
have
legitimate
switched.
issues of oversight, Juan.
Jesse, you said it's totally legitimate when Republicans do it, but illegitimate when Democrats do it.
It's scale, Juan. If there's a dead American, I want my Congress to investigate, Republican or Democrat.
And if
who's dead?
The
only thing's dead is the Democrats' electoral chances in 2020, and that's what this is all about.
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
I think that you are arguing that this president should be immune from accountability.
No, I'm not.
Okay, then
He's
are you
been
arguing?
the most accountable president. There's been more investigations and more sunlight on this guy than any other president I can even remember.
Okay, so you're arguing then that if there's a conflict of interest, if he has in fact some kind of ties with Russia during the course of the campaign, Republicans
I'm willing to look at the Mueller report, Juan. So you know it's not going to deliver the goods. And that's why they're doing all these other investigations.
I think you're hopeful, but I'm saying Congress has legitimate responsibility. Why are you so upset when Democrats exercise that responsibility, but not upset when Republicans went on for 5 years about Benghazi?
I don't look upset, Juan. I'm actually happy.